Situated, and we'll go ahead and get started tonight. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Design Review Board. This is a regular Design Review Board meeting of the City of Milton. I'm Ken Warlick. This is a 7-member board appointed by the City of Milton Mayor and City Council, created for the purpose of holding public hearings and making recommendations. The Design Review Board reviews plans and makes recommendations to the Community Development Director for the developments, except single-family residential, in the form-based code and overlay districts. In addition, the Design Review Board approves and denies demolition requests and makes recommendations to the Board of Zoning of Appeals on variances. At this time, I'd like to ask everyone to rise, please, as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you. So at this time, I would like to introduce our staff and board members.
Michael Cardeman, Senior Planner.
Jackie Lim, Planner 2.
Mary Crunk, Hickory Mill Lane.
Casey Robinson, Parkbrook Trace.
Ken Warlick, Hipworth Road.
Rachel Greathouse, Hickory Flat.
Great. All right, so next we'll move on to the approval amendment of tonight's agenda for Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. Can I get a motion or any comments?
I'd just like to add one 2-minute thing, 3-minute thing at the end, just to thank everybody for having me on the board and make a couple comments and suggestions.
Okay.
So just real short at the end.
Okay, so we'll just, when we call for, I guess, new business, we
Yeah.
can do that. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve the amendment, the agenda for December 5th, 2023.
Okay, and a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, great. So next we will a call for a motion or amendments, or approval or amendment, to the meeting minutes from Wednesday, November 8th, Design Review Board.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the November 8th, 2023 Design Review Board meeting minutes.
Great.
A second.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. All right, so then with all that behind us, we will move on to tonight's first agenda, which is demolitions, and we'll do 5A. This is 14295 Thompson Road. Jackie, would you please give us some background information on this one?
Good evening, everyone. Wait a little bit. All right, so our only demo plan case for tonight is 14295 Thompson Road. This is a 14.08 acre lot, and it was zoned agricultural within the rural Milton overlay. So the existing use for this property is residential, and the house was built in 1988. The applicant requests to demolish existing house, the driveways, and 2 small buildings. Just showing you the aerial view of the property. That's just located, I believe, in the southeast of Thompson Road. Just going to show you the site plan, and it shows you the limits of disturbance, and within that disturbance are the structures to be demolished. Some photos of the structure of the house. And the 2 buildings behind the house. There are adjacent properties photos, just to give you the look and feel of that area. Some supplemental information that no trees will be disturbed during the demo process. And just to show you that a portion of this property is located in a flood hazard area. The middle of this lot is just a stream buffer. And of course, staff reviewed and confirmed that this property is not listed in the Georgia's historic GIS as well as the Milton's historic survey list. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the demolition plan per site plan with the following conditions, which is pretty standards. Complete demo permit application showed tree-safe fences and silt fences. If not used, septic will need to be capped properly, as well as water well. And then any disturbed areas or exposed soil must be level and permanently grass. Any questions for staff?
No?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. At this time, I'd like to call the applicant up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese of Bromwell Reese and Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 30004. I'm here tonight representing Hardy Smith Builders and their application to remove the existing structures on this 14-acre parcel. As you've seen, there are no historical, social, or architectural elements of these buildings that would warrant trying to save them. We need to remove these structures to proceed with a family compound proposed on this property. So to be able to do a minor subdivision plat that would meet all the building setbacks and build new structures, we need to remove these. And, you know, Mr. Smith has been in the area for many years building, so he knows the dog and pony show of cleaning up the lot after removing the structures. So that being said, if you have any questions, I will be glad to try to answer those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Oh, okay. I'll open up public comment. Do we have any? Okay, all right. Then I will close public comment and open the board for any discussion. No?
For me?
Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the demolition of structure 5A 14295 Thompson Road.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I would like to thank all of you for putting your time in to serve on these boards. Probably won't see you any more than by the rest of this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you in January. Yeah.
January, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Reese, for that heartfelt
Felt goodbye.
goodbye and appreciation. Okay, so that concludes our demolitions of structure for tonight. Moving on, we're going to go to our courtesy reviews. So we have 6A, which is RZ23-10, Bethany Bend, 3475, 3485, and 3495 Bethany Bend.
Oh,
Robin, you want to give us some
Yeah.
background information on this one, please?
yeah, I just need to get the correct one up here. That's fine. Yeah, there we go. You said it. You said the address. Okay. So I just want to preface before I get into the presentation. I know it's been a while since we've had a rezoning or use permit come before you all. Again, it is under courtesy review. And even with this Bethany Bend rezoning, it's under the Highway 9 overlay district, which actually doesn't even ask you to look at it at all, but we just want to be very transparent and let the DRB know, but also The Planning Commission really appreciates your input and looks forward to it. So that's why we have this one as well as the other item that's in Crabapple Form-Based Code area come before you as courtesy review. Again, what we're seeking is your input about more design, aesthetics, as much as can be taken from where we are in this process because it's very early in the process. But at the same time, just to let you know, the Planning Commission does appreciate your input. And also what I would suggest after each item is you all talk about what your thoughts were and kind of come in together. And, if it's a bullet points of items that you would like to be passed upon to the Planning Commission, make those points and make a motion to say we recommend to forward these comments to the Planning Commission. Again, it's a courtesy review. It's not you're approving or denying. It's, again, and I'd like to concentrate on the design parts more so than the land use, and those issues are going to be dealt with by the Planning Commission, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have about that as well. So with that said, I will get started. And where do we start? That one? Okay. Okay, so this is RZ 23-11, which is a request to rezone from AG1 to R5A to develop 13 single-family homes on 3.133 acres, which comes out to be about 4.15 units per acre. This is the location map. As you can see, on this other side of Bethany Bend is Forsyth County. And then here's this roundabout right before you get to Morris Road. And it's this oddly shaped lot here, as well as this lot, and then this lot that they're seeking the rezoning for. And this is a townhouse development to the northwest. And then this is also another development with single family adjacent to it, but also contains townhomes further in if you blew up the map to go out. And then to the south is undeveloped land. This little strip here is a fire entrance for the backside of this subdivision. And then this is undeveloped land further to the south. This is the current zoning. You can see this little island of AG1 right here, and it's surrounded by townhouse residential in the area. And then obviously where the gray is Forsyth County. And then we have, I think, Avansong back here in different parts, as well as the subdivision right here. And then there's a Montessori school where the O&I is further to the south. The future land use plan map, it's very dark brown, and that signifies high density residential number 2, which recommends 5 units per acre or more for that area. So, and then this green represents there was zoning back in 2007 to do senior housing, and that's at 20 units per acre that has not been developed. This is the site plan received on October 20th. As you can see, they have the entrance, and then there is above ground proposed detention area in the back with a kiosk, mail kiosk, and 2 parking spaces. The concept that the developers wanted to do was rear loaded, and these are detached products. They are not townhomes. And then to have the frontage along the main street. So all of them have rear loaded so that you'd get that nice, pedestrian friendly architecture as you walk down the street. Yep, this is for the other one. Let's see if we have, okay. This is photos of the site, looking from Bethany Benz, looking onto the property. Subject property from Bethany Bend looking south toward the roundabout and looking north. And then you can see over here, apparently, my understanding is where the orange sign is, that was a request to build a gas station in Forsyth County. So. And across in Forsyth as well. And looking south. In another, looking south as well. And says the subject site, again, is zoned AG1. It has 2 parcels that have single-family home structures on them. With that, if you have any questions for me, I believe the applicant has some elevation of the house and stuff, and we can show that to you as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions at this point, and then when he has the opportunity, he can show you his proposed. He doesn't have all the elevations done. It's not required at this point, but he has a good idea of what direction he's going.
So I have a question. Is our elevations required for single-family detached homes?
So the way that
Is
this,
DRB approval required
no,
for?
not
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's very similar to Crabapple Form-Based Code or Deerfield Single Family, where it's going to be administered by the department and make sure everything is implemented that's in the ordinance. So, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the board for staff?
Just had one about, it says the proposed street in the interior, it's private.
Yes.
Okay.
It is, yeah. And I believe they're looking to do a gate as well.
Okay.
No gate. Okay, I'm sorry.
Is there a reason why we have rear loaded on these?
I think you can ask the applicant. We encourage rear loaded. The code does not require rear loaded. I double checked on that, but I think that just like how we encourage it, or actually it's required here in Crabapple for T4 and T5, I'm just having that streetscape and not seeing fronts of garages with that size of a lot.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Any more questions for staff? All right, great. Would the applicant please come forward?
And I do think after they're done, there's some comment from the public as well.
I
So
will open up
just-
public
yeah.
comment after.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ethan Underwood with Miles Hansford. Our address is 202 Triple Gap Road in Cumming, 30040. Before we get into the details of this, we wanted to show you, try to get you a good feel for this project. Here. There we go. This is a fly-through rendering. This is coming off of Bethany Bend. This will be going southbound, and then you turn to the southeast. We're looking to proposing modern farmhouse architecture. Obviously, they're complementary, but want different facades. As Robin was alluding to earlier, it's important, we feel, to have rear entry alley-fed lots so that you're not having the primary architectural feature when you go into the neighborhood to be garages. Our experience is, frankly, is people tend to not use those garages for storing cars. They store their things in it, and they have cars out on the driveway. And they end up doing 2 things. One, it affects the aesthetics of the property, but 2, they tend to block the sidewalks. We want to make sure that those cars are not hanging out on the sidewalk, and this is a pedestrian-friendly design. Now, admittedly, we have had some neighbors' comments about that. They've said we've had a couple of adjoining property owners who said they would prefer to have front-loaded homes so that there's cars not driving behind and between their homes and this. But frankly, it's an oddly shaped piece of property. We have to choose, and we think aesthetically and from just a feel perspective, it's better to have the rear loaded drives. We know that zonings are actually fairly rare. There's not many places left in the city that are shown on your comprehensive plan that are not in either a Transact zone or somewhere in the Deerfield Township. So this is one of the few that are shown on your comprehensive plan. There we go. Thought I had it. There we go. So as stated, we're not requesting as high of a density as what's called for. Your comprehensive plan calls for 5+. We're actually coming in just over 4 units to the acre. There was a lot of discussion as to what's the appropriate density, what's the appropriate design. The site is surrounded by older townhomes that were approved when really most before the city of Milton, I think all actually before the city of Milton was incorporated. So this will have a newer architectural feel. But we feel this will add value to these existing communities with some new architecture. Here's a survey of the site. We're only asking for 13 homes. So as stated, it's a low density for the area. Minimum 4,000 square foot lots. These are much larger than the townhome lots that you're seeing adjacent to the property. This is, if you, I guess, invert the view of the property. This shows the view from Bethany Vend, which is shown on the bottom of this site. So as you're turning into the right, the neighborhood would have private streets. We're not certain whether this will be gated yet. We want to keep that option open, but we definitely want these to be private streets that will be maintained by the homeowners association. And another perspective of the site. I think the biggest concern, and we certainly would welcome your input from the neighbors saying that they have concerns with the alley-fed lots. Some have asked for fences. If there is going to be a fence on portions of this property, we will make sure that they blend in aesthetically. We've only got about between 7 and 10 feet between the asphalt of that alley and the rear boundary line. So there's only so much in landscaping that can be put in there. But just, we understand the constraint, but in order to have the appropriately sized access road, a private street in the middle of the property, plus the required depth of each lot, plus our driveway length, plus our alley width, you've only got so much that you can work with there. So we do have a tight fit in the back of the properties, or the back of each lot. Got another scale drawing. Significant use of board and batten, painted brick. You can see architectural details on the garage doors. Using cornices there as well as metal roofing on the porches within architectural shingles on the primary roofs. With that, we've got floor plans if you want to get into the detail of that, but I think we'd probably be more looking at the exteriors. We're happy to answer any questions that you have, and we'll reserve any time that we have remaining.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for the applicant?
I have a question about, I know because you guys are going to be maintaining the streets, it's private streets.
Yes.
And I know these are very preliminary, early drawings.
Mhm.
I didn't see any lighting, any
Right.
street lighting.
I don't believe that we had that design yet. We can certainly
Okay.
work toward that, but
Okay. Just would want to make sure that that lighting is consistent, obviously, with the Milton standards.
sure.
And with the concern of the neighbors that surround, that lighting doesn't really throw out a lot of light onto their other
Right.
properties.
But I believe we're limited to 1-foot candle light spillage at the boundary line,
Mhm.
but from an aesthetic standpoint, we can certainly work with city staff on design of the lighting.
That'd be great. And then I also agree that the fence, whatever you can do, if it's going to be backloaded, that fence will help keep lights from going into people's properties. I think that's also I know that was a comment from one of the folks with CZIM.
Yes.
And then you've got signage, you've got a monument at the entrance as well. But at this point, if you were to have a gate, do you have the proper amount, because there's a certain amount of space that you need to have to go into the development?
Correct.
in order to have that gate. Do you currently have it planned that way, or would you have to make a change to these plans to be able to do that?
I don't believe so. I believe the city standard is you have to have stacking space for 2 vehicles plus a delivery van. So I believe that's been designed for that.
Okay, those would be my comments about the gate.
Yep.
Thank you.
I have a question. You said you had 7 to 10 feet approximately from the backside of the alleyway to the adjacent properties for the most part.
Correct.
What's the topography difference in those?
Gentlemen. Introduce yourself, state your name.
My name is Mofa Hashim. I'm from Arkan Homes. We haven't done it's still a concept in concept stage, so we haven't done a lot on the topography, but I believe it's there isn't a huge change within those 7 feet.
Okay. Thank you. Are these the same house plans that you're planning on doing over at Crossroads?
Where in
Crab
at
apple.
Echo?
Mhm.
They're similar when it comes to elevations. They're similar,
Okay.
but they're much narrower. Those plans are narrower than the other ones, but they're similar in concept, let's say.
Okay.
Well, and we have met with Robin multiple times and Bob, and they were very helpful, and they gave us lots of feedback. So we tried to implement the comments they gave us on those
Got it.
renderings.
Okay. Because that's a beautifully designed neighborhood. Anyway, okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
Just out of curiosity, what are you planning on selling the average unit for?
We're thinking at the high 8, starting at high 8. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
The minimum square footage on the plan is 2,000 square feet, and right now you're looking at, low end is $200 a square foot for construction costs. So it will probably start in the high 8s and get mid 9s from there.
It's relatively affordable for Milton.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? All right. So I believe we do have some public comment. So I'm going to go ahead and open up public comment at this time. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese, Brumlow Reese. I am representing my coworker, Millis Kabase, who lives in Hidden Forest in an adjacent neighborhood. Their concern is the rear-loaded lots. They would much prefer, since they have private backyards, and they feel long-term, the buyers of these properties would prefer a private area somewhere on their lot to grill or do family functions. They feel they love the design of the house, the feel of the neighborhood, everything except the fact that they're going to have cars coming in at all hours of the day and night, traversing that alleyway street for the rear loaded. They would prefer a standard front entry, and since it's a private community, they feel like the HOA could put in restrictions as far as cars parking on the street. And if there have been any the architectural design of garage doors in the past, in my span of my career, has gone from the most utilitarian, ugly, to what can be really a design feature. So that being said, I think that trying to preserve a more traditional rear private yard for the long-term benefit would benefit this neighborhood and the adjoining neighborhoods. So that is their comment for the adjacent neighborhood that they asked me to present to you. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Same thing, the third public comment is also in support, but do not wish to speak. The comment is greenery to face the street. And lastly, is an opposition. May I call Mr. Makgarami?
Good evening.
I am the HOA of the Spring Valley subdivision, and we've been there for 23 years right now. And actually, we're not in total opposition. We just want comments. We disagree at the same time, the same way, having the paved driveways in the rear. And we prefer, if they want to have to put in there, maybe shift it a little bit further inside, landscape it, and also provide a decorative fence all the way around. And also, if there's any possibility, remove the detention pond from that odd-shaped area, because there's a lot of deers, there's a lot of greenery, specimen trees. One of the things objective to the city of Milton, I think, has to preserve the natural beauty of any community. And that's been there for many years. There are a lot of deers in there, wildlife, birds. And if that detention pond is going to be a major obstacle there. So if there's any way they can move that somewhere else and preserve that tree save area, there's a bunch of specimen trees there. And then provide that decorative fence all the way on between that subdivision and Bethany Bend. We don't mind it. I mean, density is okay, and of course, add values to our property as well. But we want some kind of a balance. Having all the impervious in the front and back just doesn't make any sense. It just, if they can delete the paved driveways in the rear, that'd be great. But if they have to have it, then we prefer them shift it further inside, provide landscaping and more tree areas. And the detention pond is a very big thing with this, with our homeowners. If they can remove them, put it somewhere, located somewhere else.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for the public comments.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and I will close public comment. I have a question. What is the width of the homes? 28 feet?
Yes.
Okay,
28 by 45.
okay. So if we were to put a double garage door on the front of these property or front of these homes, we'd have essentially less than 8 feet left in the width of the home
Yeah.
on the front. Okay.
And we have already tried to do an house concept plan, and we felt like it's gonna look very narrow. Then the door, the main door, the front door, it's all gonna be garage. So we struggled with that. We wanted to do a front entry, but then when the city proposed that they encourage back entry, we thought it fits those lots, and the houses will look much better, and the utility will be much more efficient and for homeowners. So yeah.
Understood. Okay. Is there, and I apologize if you guys showed this, is there a kind of a gathering area, an amenity area, a grilling area, or is it just a mail kiosk? And
No, right now it's just a mail kiosk. We're still waiting on the detention pond design. So, and then we can see if we have enough room to do something over there.
Okay. Okay. And then this question is for staff. What is is a 6 foot tall privacy fence allowed, or is it?
It's on the side property line. You can just, we don't want to see it from Bethany Bend. So, I mean, it would have to stop a little bit before Bethany Bend and maybe
Okay.
do some vegetation. So, but
Okay.
you are permitted to do a 6 foot privacy fence.
Okay. In lieu of, say, just a 4 foot, horse fence.
Yeah, along
Okay.
that front, if they want it. Yeah, that's what the ordinance calls for frontages. I did want to make a comment that I don't think was mentioned, was that these are 0 lot line, 14 foot between the buildings. So I think that's where I just wanted to clarify that, like, okay, it's not like there's 7 feet on each side and then everybody puts a fence up. It's a side yard type product, so.
What's the minimum distance between
It's-
structures? Is it 10 foot?
Well, per the code in the R5A, it's 14 feet. I think the
14.
code is like 10 feet, but
Okay.
they would be required to be at 14 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions for staff or for the applicant? No? Okay. Seeing as no more questions and, you know, we're not really supposed to get into the semantics of the rezoning on this one. I would say, I'll make a recommendation that we can forward, a couple comments to the planning commission, which I think are going to be, beneficial to both the applicant and then also, the surrounding neighbors. Is one, we heard a comment about the retention pond, and, you know, board, please chime in anytime. I don't think that there is a code, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the city of Milton, if there is an above ground detention pond. I know that there is fencing that's required for that. However, I don't think that there's vegetation required for that.
There is either a 10-foot or 20-foot. I mean, I think we try to just, you know, there is the fencing depending on the depth of the detention pond, which it probably would require fencing.
Mhm.
And we do the horse fencing with the hog wire so people can't get in, kids can't, you know, get into it easily. Not to say they couldn't.
Right.
But, and then we just go case by case on the vegetation. So if there was enough room to do some amenities, we would work with the developer and to be able to come up with a nice landscape plan that would work for a possible amenity area. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, with that said, I would just recommend that, the planning commission consider, you know, mandating some sort of evergreens, some sort of privacy vegetation around the detention pond, not only for the future, you know, homeowners that live in the development, but then also too, I think that will help, satisfy some comments from the opposition or at least from the adjacent neighbors, as well as seeing as there is 7 to 10 foot between the alleyway and the adjacent properties. For the most part, I would say is some evergreen vegetation there as well to kind of create some privacy. I'm assuming that the future buyers would probably, you know, enjoy that as much as the existing neighbors and stuff that are there as well. I'm on the fence, no pun intended, about a fence because those typically require maintenance. I would rather see more vegetation than a fence. However, I do understand. I built a neighborhood very similar to this beforehand, and that was a very big concern of the neighbors. That's why I asked about the topography is because our particular development was much lower than others. So I just don't know how much a fence would come into play. However, I think maybe that's something that Planning Commission can, you know, take into consideration.
So I will make a comment. I did look at the site plan. I mean, obviously it's not a grading plan, but looking at the current
couldn't really tell by
topography,
looking.
it's like higher toward Bethany Bend, and then it goes down probably about for the full length, maybe 14, 15 feet. It's a gradual slope downward. There is a creek that's further back, I mean, way further back. And so, not that it flows in, I'm just saying it just, the topography tends to go away from Bethany Bend.
Mhm.
So it's not like they're higher than the townhomes or whatever. It's more perpendicular to Bethany Bend, the
Got it.
slope.
Okay. And then, you know, with that retrospect too, is just, I think try to, since it is going to be rear loading and it is going to be kind of direct view, although albeit we'll have some vegetation, is I would recommend maybe adding some shutters or some brackets or something like that, something very cost efficient, but adding that character to the rears of the home. So it
More visually appealing.
yeah, so as for us as design review board, I think that it would behoove us to not have some sort of say in that. And I think that would only help the project out a little bit. And then it would help kind of, in my opinion, ease some of the adjacent neighbors' concerns as far as just looking at the flat back of the house. I would prefer to see it on the rear, but I do understand the concerns of the neighbors. And then the other thing is I think limit the lighting on the rear to, I saw you have some awnings over the garages, maybe just some can lights or something there, just some down lighting, not necessarily floodlights on the rear of the home. Those are just some comments that I have. I don't know if
I would
there's any
agree.
discussion with that with the board or.
I would agree with that. I mean, the spacing from lots 1 through 6 and their proposed alley, you said that's what, 7 to 10 feet with, I mean, for me, a fence of for the Milton standard fence with some evergreens in front of that, you're not gonna, I'm sure there's some evergreens on the other side of those properties behind those townhomes as well. So you're really not gonna see that fence once it's in there with those evergreens, once they come to full maturity. That would be my only comment.
I was going to also make a comment to the chair's comment that per the Highway 9 overlay district, the single family is supposed to still be 360 architecture. So we'll definitely be looking at the backside. They're
Great,
not
then there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're not let go of that requirement. So just FYI, we'll make them look nice. So.
No, that's good. Well, then look, hey, I won't add that comment then. So, okay. So yeah, 1 through 6, I think is a good call. And then maybe 8 and 7 as well for those rear alleys. So, any other kind of suggestions, recommendations from the board?
Will this have to come back through if zoning? No?
It will not.
Gotcha.
Disturbance permits don't come back to you for courtesy review.
Sure.
So this will just, if it gets approved at planning commission, then the next step for them would be a application for land disturbance permit. So, yeah.
I'm content.
So I'll make a motion to recommend some comments for the planning commission. One being recommend some evergreen screening along the backside of the alleyways, specifically lots 1 through 8, and just to provide some vegetation buffer and screening for the neighbors. And then also as well as adding screening evergreens, trees, deciduous trees along the proposed detention area just to create a little bit more privacy vegetation as well. And then to consider maybe whether a fence is necessary or not based on the vegetation that is proposed on there. So I will make that recommendation. Is everyone else on the board okay with
Yeah,
that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Was that clear enough for staff? Okay. All right. So we'll make a motion for those recommendations to the planning commission. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All
Sorry.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Good luck, guys. Okay, moving on. Next is another courtesy review, 6B, RZ23-11-12505 Broadwell Road. If we can, you would be so kind to give us some background information on this one.
I'm just opening it.
My hearing aids don't work. I thought you said Roswell Road. I'm like, what?
Did I say, no, Broadwell, sorry, Broadwell.
Your southern accent's giving me a hard time.
We're not doing any Roswell
No.
stuff tonight, okay?
Southern accents.
Okay, so this is the next rezoning that we have coming before you at 12505 Broadwell Road. It's a request to rezone from T4 Crabapple form-based code to T4 open Crabapple form-based code to develop a 3-story mixed-use building with a below-grade parking garage, 8 for-sale lofts, and 7,600 square feet of residential use. Wait, no, 7,600 feet of non-residential use. So that here is the overall location map, and here is the subject site in the darker red. To the south is a large parcel that has been looked at for several years to be developed. And if and when either of these get developed, there will be interparcel from a north to south positioning. So there you go. Over here is the commercial buildings where Vintage Pizza is, as well as some of the other service-related businesses. And then as you go further south are the duplexes along Broadwell. This is the current zoning. You can see the variation where the little circles are. That's the T4 open, and the plain purple is the T4. This area here is where the subdivision across the street is called T4 reserved, which basically is a default of what they were zoned in Fulton County, which is MIX, and all the standards there of required. Where the Vintage Pizzerias and other non-residential and lofts above, that is actually zoned T5. And to the north, where this blue is where the Broadwell Pavilion. This is the future land use map, which basically is the same as the zoning of T4. And it's hard to tell with this demarcation, but between the two purples, but this is the future land uses for T4. This is the site plan that was submitted by the applicant. You can see there's, just to help you to read, this is the Broadwell Road, this is the garage underneath, and then this is the first floor or the padding above the garage. And then this is the entrance that comes in off of Broadwell, and then also the applicant's providing surface parking as well. There is a stream and stream buffers that go along paralleling Broadwell Road and goes in a north-south direction. And I believe that they are going to contemplate underground detention, correct? Underground detention under the parking. These are some elevations that the applicant's been working with staff on. It's not a final application or elevations, but again, the second and third stories are a total of 8 units, and then the first floor would be retail type office as well as restaurant type uses. This is the rear of it. As you can see, again, the topography goes down away from Broadwell Road and is allowing for this subsurface a parking garage that is for the public as well as for the residents. So. This is the existing site. It is unoccupied, had been previously used as a hair salon. Looking toward the north on Broadwell, looking toward the south. This is directly across the street where you have residential, the duplexes right here. And looking north. And then this is the beginning of the commercial mixed-use development right here. Again, looking across Broadwell and to the south. Again, as I stated, it is Zone T4 and had been formerly a hair salon, is now vacant. So you may be asking, okay, why are we here tonight? The difference between T4 and T4 open. And I know, I just want to explain the reason why. It gets into a little bit more of the land use, but I am going to just go over that. So I actually wanted the other one first. Where'd it go? Okay, well, I'll start with this one. So this is a chart within the form-based code talking about building function. And they look at all the different transect zones, T2, T3. And in the middle column is the T4, about what can be used and not be used within T4. Because typically T4 open is very flexible about, it's pretty much, I call it the Burger King way. Whatever you want on your sandwich, you can have it with T4 open. You can have residential, you can have townhomes, you can have retail, you can have restaurants, you can have a lot of different uses that make for a really nice mixed use development. But when you have T4, it's just T4, not open. What it does, the biggest difference is in the retail. It says the building area available for retail use is limited to the first story of buildings at corner locations. So if this was to be developed, you remember how there was a street coming in. So the building is on a corner, not more than one per block. The specific use shall be further limited to neighborhood store or food service seating no more than 30. Retail functions are prohibited and T4 restricted, which has nothing to do with this one. So basically, the applicant is seeking to change the zoning from T4 to T4 open and to be able to be more flexible with the first floor uses, i.e. restaurants with more than 30 seats. And I think he'll be able to explain a little bit more about that. But that's the gist of it's really the use. It's not the number of stories, because in T4, you're allowed to have 3 stories. Basements and attics do not count. I think and the density is allowed. He is, just full disclosure, using 2 parking spaces under the garage, and he gets additional density. And so that's the ability to be able to do the 75 plus minus non-residential and then the 8 units of residential. So whether he was, the density part doesn't matter whether it's T4 or T4 open. It really comes down to uses. It's the same architectural requirements. It's the same development requirements. So that is why we're here today. So with that, I'll be open to answering any questions you may have at this point, or if you want to hear from the applicant.
Any questions for staff?
Not right now.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and bring up the applicant.
Okay.
Rob Forrest, 3810 Heritage Walk, live right down the street here. I'm the applicant. I've been either had it under contract about 2 years ago. We've owned it since March. March will be 2 years, so we've owned it a very long time. Have planned to work with the property next door to the south, which another builder we actually brought into the fold. Went through everything that he did, all the way through, I think, design review board even, and then didn't close on it, didn't build anything. So we've been waiting for about 2 years on that. Our plans have been about the same. I've got my laptop if you guys want to see the old iterations. We've been through a bunch with the city, with staff, we've done a great job to get us from where we started all the way through again, 2 years of process to where we are today, which are the elevations, which she can show me how to bring those back up because she has them on here. But yeah, the whole reason for going through the whole pain and suffering, I hate to say it, of a public hearing, is to, we've had signs out in front of it. We've had on LoopNet and other places, and the 95% of the interest we're getting is for a restaurant use, not a heavy intense, but over on this side of the road, we have a lot of retail over here, but it's all owned by one party or one group. And so they have a lot of use restrictions. So you get one one Bowls place and one pub and one barbecue and one, and then they can't do anymore. So you go across the street, there's not much. Then you go over here to the Starbucks developer, which has that whole strip, and then you get 111. So what we're getting is a lot of people that are trying to get here, but they can't. They're being turned down by the other landlords. So we'd like the ability to be able to accommodate them because that's what we're getting the most interest for. And on this side, we're going to be increasing the sidewalk width, so much larger than what's out there today, much more walkable. As you guys have all seen, kids walk up and down there all the way up and down the road. People do everything else. And having some interactive first floor uses versus a chiropractor or something like that. In those uses, I just think would be better for the all crab apple as a whole. So that's why we're going through the process of the rezoning, is to mainly the flexibility of being able to accommodate the interested parties and being like a restaurant, because nobody can use 30 seats sounds like a lot. That includes your patio. So if you go to Vintage has 24 plus 4 chairs sitting out there, it's 28. They can have 2 more seats inside. So, and that's not a big intense use. So that's really, scale wise what we're looking at. And whole first floor is under 7,600 square feet, which is not big compared to a lot of the buildings around here. So ready to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
I have a question on, and this is going to be a combination of probably staff and the applicant. And I'm looking at the drawing that we have with the elevations, and we've got the 43 feet.
On the other side one. One more. Nope, the other way. One more. Oh, it's not in here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go.
Well,
All
it's
right.
okay. 'Cause
Yeah, it's in mine, so yeah.
Is this drawing, but it's showing 43 feet with the 3 stories. And then I just wanted to check with staff, in table 5 in the crabapple form-based code, and it's talking about building form height, and it's T4 and T5 are maximum height of 42 feet, and then 53 feet, I guess, if you have ground floor with civic or commercial function. So what would apply here? I know you could say that this is a ground floor commercial function, right? Right. So then they would be allowed to be 53 feet total?
Got it, just to double check, but he wouldn't, we would look at it again. I know we had discussions, I think this is in compliance with what the ordinance says, but,
Yeah, so I'll throw one thing in. If you look at the building over across from the library, that's also in T4. T4 open, same thing. That is all commercial, and that's a much taller building. So that one's allowed, that we can do the same thing over there because they've done it, obviously, and some of these other ones. Starbucks and those. So our 2 upper floors are residential use, which are lower. Typically you're 13, 14 feet for a commercial floor. We're going to be in the 10, 11 foot range. So the building is shorter.
But the front of your building, though, basically from the sidewalk or the back of the curb is only 43 foot tall.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I only see 2 proposed doors on the front of that from the sidewalk. Is it just going to be 2 spaces for commercial use or restaurant use?
That was just what we had
Just kinda
drawn
looks
at the time. Yeah, I think we're going to be in the 3 range probably. Yeah.
Is that one
Again,
already?
we're trying not to do a 5,000 square foot restaurant or anything. It just it parks too hard. So
Is that door all the way on the right anticipated to be the entrance for the residents to go up?
still in planning. That was an elevator, and in this current one, that's all still can float around. We've had it in the middle of the building. We've had it over on the end, and that's still. Like I said, we've got about 6 of these different things, different layouts. So this is where we're headed right now.
And this is kind of for the city. The parcel next to it's further away that's still T4. You said that's going to be used for development at some point?
I was just trying to say.
The parcel to the left, the south of
Yes.
the property, that's proposed to be a development, you said?
Yeah, so we've been working with the various developers over the years. It looks to be there are townhomes and there would be interparcel access. So there'd be a frontage of townhomes and then a alley between the two. And then they would enter. So here, there's interparcel access required here.
So
And
it's
so
a,
there'll be a row, there would be a row at this point, what's been shown to us, or actually they've gone through almost a full LDP, land disturbance permit process, where there'll be a row of townhomes facing Broadwell, and then an alley, and then townhomes on the back side of the alley. So it'll all be residential at this point in time, so who knows?
so it's a natural progression from commercial to residential.
Right, yeah.
I would interject a little bit there. I would prefer it be a little bit more because from south of that one, you've now got a mixed use building that's commercial with residential above, and then in the back, it's got a commercial building. So it's almost kind of like you got
Two
commercial, you have houses that were in Alpharetta that are still are, and then you have the commercial, which is light. Then you're going to have townhomes, which are pretty intense if you've seen the site plans, and then ours, and then kind of going up the road. So I would like to say it's I'd like to see it maybe mixed up a little bit more, but I can't buy the property. I've tried.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? So I'll open up public comment real quick. Do we have any opposition?
We have none.
None. Okay. Well, then I will, seeing none, I'll close public comment and open up for any more questions or discussion amongst the board.
Since this is very preliminary, there's a lot of stuff that would need to come back to DRB, because obviously this one would come back to DRB. So lighting, landscaping, pretty much everything, anything that's not this kind of stuff that we have right here. So they're going to have to come back with all of that should they get approval from Planning Commission and also from council.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
I mean, that's just going to happen anyway. So we know that part. I was wondering if there's anyone, because this is going to be facing homes that are two-story homes across. And I wondered if there was any public comment about, if, I know they had a CZIM. I don't know if there was anyone who attended the CZIM that made comment about the size being across the street, or if they had any other comments that were pertinent more to the design. I know we're not dealing with zoning, but the design is what I was wondering if people had any concerns about that. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so yes, the little number one, the 53 feet, that would apply max height with ground floor civic or commercial functions.
Because
So
it
yes,
is the
you
civic or
could go
ground
all the
floor
way up to
function.
53.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we had a couple people that came. One in particular said that they would you should make it a two-story building. My townhome, I live in the Taylor Morris, and it's basically a three-story house. That is taller than this one is, to give you an idea. So when you drive down the road and you see the peaks of you see the roof peak, my roof peak is 3 feet lower. So it's not that bad. And again, I use the one across from the library as an example, because that one is maxed out. That is max type, max. And it's tall and it's pushed right up on the road. We're also pushing ours back. If you look on here, you can kind of see on the site plan, we're required to not have it more than X amount of feet from the road. And by the time we put the sidewalk and everything else, we've actually pushed it back some because there is power lines going through there. So we've pushed it back to kind of help soften that up a little bit, so it's not right up on the road. But like I said, we can only go back so far. So.
Okay. Any other discussion? I agree with you. I agree with you, Mary. It's preliminary. This is going to have to come back through us as well. I would say, with a lighting, exterior elevation, materials, site, landscape plan would be pertinent for this. And so I think that we move forward with that recommendation, or I guess for Planning Commission. is to, that it's premature for us to really make any kind of comments. I will say, just based on like looking at vintage and those buildings and stuff like that, those are very stark and bland. I like how you've got a little bit of difference in here as far as architectural features that do kind of incorporate some residential aspects to them. So, if this is what you're going to go with down the line, I'd like to just see a little bit more detail and some color and stuff like that. But other than that, given the information that we have, seeing as this is more of a rezoning before it would get back to us, and it will get back to us eventually, then I'll just make a motion or recommendation to the planning commission that if approved, this comes back through us. We'd like to see a site plan, some residential or some elevations, and stuff that we can review at that time for a final review. So,
I'd agree with
okay.
that.
So that is my motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, good luck.
Good luck.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We're moving on.
We do public comment?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we did.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
No,
Yeah.
I've been checking this.
We were paying attention, Robin, so. But you made me second guess myself, but yes, we did. We did. Okay, so moving on, another courtesy review, 6C, which is V23-19, 15235 Birmingham Highway. Michael, if you will give us some background information on this one, please.
Happy to do so. Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mike.
Congratulations on your baby.
Thank you very much. I
Oh, yeah,
appreciate it.
congrats.
No, thank you for the kind words. Variance courtesy review 6C. The applicant is Sam Sampson. The address is 15235 Birmingham Highway. The requested variances are three parts. Part one is for the house to reduce the 50-foot minimum rear yard to 45 feet for an existing house. Part two, for the existing barn housing animals to reduce the existing barn housing animals from 100 feet to 1 foot to the north property line. And those are the degrees on the survey. And part three is to reduce the existing barn housing animals from 100 to 13 feet, which also references another side property line. And I'll provide further details on that later on. The existing zoning is AG1, and in this property is located in the rural Milton overlay district. Site plan analysis, the size is 8.75 acres. The length is 914 feet. The width is 594 feet. Applicable setbacks are 60-foot front, 25 side, and as you see, the unique shape of this property has several side setbacks and a 50-foot rear. Here's an overview of the property. And here's a zoomed in showing the barn housing animals right here in red, the existing house in blue, and the addition in green. And talking to the applicant, he made an effort to make sure the addition did not require a second variance. And here's a further zoomed in addition showing the barn, existing house in blue again, and then the proposed addition in green. Here's some more background information. The applicant bought the property in 2019. The single-family home was built in 1985 according to Fulton County Tax Assessor's website. However, the applicant details in his letter of appeal, a direct neighbor informed him that he actually poured the foundation of the original home in 1968. The house was completed in the same year. Barn is believed to have been built in the 1970s, and the applicant is proposing a 940 square foot home addition that meets setback requirements. Here are the proposed elevations. The applicant is proposing hardy plank, which matches the existing side, and it's a white color. And they're also adding a brick veneer at the bottom right here along the house. Water table, excuse me, brick veneer water table. If you follow my cursor, this is the existing home. And in the dark area, this is the addition. And you can see the new bedroom, sink, and new laundry. And I can let the applicant expand on what the addition is, but it is 940 square feet. The applicant has 6 letters of support. 15125, 15175, 15245 Birmingham Highway, 885, 895 Colonial Lane, and finally 625 Colmswood Way. And here's the letter of support, then your packet. We received these today. That's why they weren't in the original submittal. Here's a view of the pasture land. One donkey and 3 horses. Here's a view to the east, which is the backyard, and the closest house, which I believe had a colonial address, is the only house I really saw from walking the site. That was somewhat close. View to the west towards Birmingham Highway.
I'm sorry, Michael, is that that house right there, the view to the east, is that one of the,
Said Colonial, so 885 or 895?
yeah, is that one of the sport letters?
Yes, 885 Colonial Lane.
Okay, great.
Is the,
Thank you.
the house visible. Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. View to the north, which is the facing direction of where the barn is located, and view to the south, and also showing a little bit of the pasture land. Here's some more photos of the barn, which again, the applicant believes is built in 1970. And here's a view of the existing house. Any questions for staff?
No? Okay. All right, so thank you, Michael. Let's go ahead and hear from the applicant, if you don't mind.
Good evening. My name's Sam Sampson. My address is 15235 Birmingham Highway. I'm the applicant. I'm the owner. I'm also a landscape architect, own Ironwood Design Group in Roswell, Georgia. So, essentially, as Michael said, we bought the property 2019. We moved out there the week of the shelter in place order in 2020 with my 5 children. And so it's a little crowded with 5 kids in there. So we're planning on doing an addition. Unfortunately, the house was built prior to Milton being here, and somehow or another it's in the building setback. I don't know if that was the setback when it was built, but the barn is right up on the property line in the front. I'm assuming that it was some sort of family land, or the property lines were established after, at some other point when the property was divided up. So I don't really know the history on that. I do know that, like I said, the story from Mr. Cotton is that he knows it was built in 1968 because he worked and laid the foundation, and then he bought himself a Camaro that summer with the proceeds from his work laying the foundation. We are proposing an addition. We haven't submitted that for building permit yet. This is the first step to that process. And we have been working with David Grace from a classical studio to develop a plan that will suit our family's needs, and also keeping with the character of the house. It's board and batten. We were drawn to the property because of the views, because of there's 2 creeks on either side of the property. The property kind of sets on the crest of a hill and kind of rolls down to the 2 creeks and stream buffers. The house is set all the way to the back. The Verks, which are the family that is directly behind us, have been shown everything. We also just recently planted a nice little landscape buffer there. It was a bunch of privet and junk, and so I took that out, put in some magnolias and hemlocks and some other things this past fall. So I like my neighbors, but I recognize that everybody likes a little privacy, so including myself. So we're proposing doing that. We're not trying to do anything. We're not trying to encroach into the set back any further. So the new addition's all in front of that. You know, I don't know if you guys have any questions. I think the elevations were included. There's a we're adding a kid's bedroom that will be connected to the existing bathroom. So there'll be a Jack and Jill. Maybe I can pull that floor plan up and kind of walk you through that real quick. Which way did it go, Michael?
Yeah, it's usually, yeah.
Going the right way?
Yeah.
All right. So here's the existing house, and it's, you know, cropping off part of the great room. But there'll be a new kid's bedroom that will connect to the existing bathroom. We'll have a Jack and Jill bathroom here. When we come in through the mudroom, we'll have this new laundry room, a long hallway with bookshelves that terminates on the master bedroom with a gable ceiling, and then a barn door with the deep, soaker tub. I don't know if it's going to have claw feet or it'll be full to the ground, but on windows that are going to kind of look out over the pasture. And then there's an owner's porch, a new friend's porch. So that's kind of where the connection is. Right now, this is all set up for this. We just got to punch a hole through here, right here. Yeah. So if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
I just had one curiosity question. I go
Yes,
down that
ma'am.
road all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've got a second curb cut. Is that on your property or is that not your property?
No, that's the Corso's property in front of us.
Got it. Got
So
it. I
that-
couldn't tell where it
That property
ended
has
and-
probably been in here for not good reasons from
Okay,
the previous
okay.
owner.
Well, I'm glad it's not your curb cut then. Thank you.
That's not my property.
Okay, okay.
Any other
Do you
questions?
not have any recommendations from the property in between 625 Collinwood Way and 885 Colonial? Or did we not hear back from them? It's one of the ones, it looks like it's Collinwood Way, the south, I guess, from looking at the picture.
Oh, I did have, well, I've spoke to them. I've only met them once when we were trick or treating back there. And I had a letter for them, but I had a typo in it and I couldn't get them. I haven't been able to get in with them, but they can't even see. So the way the property rolls
Yeah.
over, they're like on the other side of the hill. They can't see our house. They can't see the barn. So it's pretty wooded, a bunch of white oaks and the back of White Columns right there, the colonnades of White Columns is all really densely. There's a stream buffer through there. It's just Deer City. So
Okay.
Okay.
any other questions?
Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
I will open up public comment. Do we have,
We have none.
we have none? Okay. All right, then I will close public comment. Discussions for the board?
No?
No.
Actually, I'm sorry, I do have one question. You've got one picture there you showed where you've planted some evergreens. Is that the back side of the barn?
That's from
facing your
Birmingham.
home?
That's facing Birmingham Highway.
Okay,
That's on actually from the Corso's property.
okay.
So the,
So this picture is from the Corso's property to the back of your barn?
yeah, or it's from our driveway looking kind of across through, because it's a flag lot.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if it's taken on the Corso's property or up from our driveway. So
Got it.
the driveway splits. One driveway goes to the house, other driveway goes to the barn. They used to run lessons out of there and lease the barn to different lesson barns. Actually, a funny story is like we were selling like this drum kit, and this lady came and got it off Facebook Marketplace, and she came up there and she's like, I used to rent the barn here, and I used to do lessons, and she showed us all these pictures from the 90s and when they had snow, and so it was pretty cool. Like she sent them to us, so it's funny how many people come up and they're like, oh, I worked on this house, back in this date or back in this date. So it's really strange. It's been there a while.
That's cool.
It's a lot of history, right?
Completely irrelevant
I guess
to,
so.
irrelevant to the rezoning stuff, but you got 5 kids in that little house right now?
Yeah. We've been in there for 3 years and
Gonna
they're-
feel amazing.
my oldest is, so I've got 7, 9, 10, 13, and 15-year-old, and they're getting bigger.
You're busy.
We just got out of the minivan and went to the Expedition Max, and now people are not, little kids aren't going, he's touching me. And so we got to do that to the house or I'm going to be in deep water.
Yeah.
So
Understood.
Bless your heart for
Thank
coming
you.
through this.
any other questions?
No, I think we're good. Thank you very much.
All right.
Discussion on the board?
It's great.
I would say, I mean, the barn is a muted color. I forget the name of specific color that is Milton, or acceptable for Milton. It's not outlandish. There is evergreens planted behind that will grow over time. It was there beforehand. So, and he's taken the initiative for the new addition. I'm assuming this has come about because they want to do the addition. That's we're having to go for their variances. Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't see any reason or any recommendation from this board unless anyone has anything different for the BZA or Planning Commission.
BZA.
BZA, yeah. Other than they've taken the steps to try to reduce and eliminate any of the new structure being in a setback. So I think that our recommendation would be approval
Yep.
to the BZA.
Agreed.
100%.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Moving on. So we're moving to our final reviews. 7A, City of Milton Fire Station 43, 750 Hickory Flat Road. Jackie?
All right, so I will be the representative for this case. Unfortunately, Chief Gabe Musa is unable to attend due to some scheduling conflict. All right, as mentioned, the location of Fire Station 43 is 750 Hickory Flat Road. This fire station sits on a 66.12 acre land located in the north portion of Milton. The existing public facility was built in 1981 with a total square footage of 81,257 square foot. The applicant requests a certificate of endorsement to upgrade the exterior facade of the building by painting the existing brick walls, trims, and bay doors, as well as some, I believe the columns will be painted as well. And this is just to show you the aerial view, the location of the fire station. It's just west of Birmingham Crossroads. Here's some existing photos of the building. This is the elevation that facing Birmingham or the Hickory Flat Road. Some side elevations and rear elevation. So just to summarize, the existing condition is a little bit outdated. As you can see, there's some peeling and faded paint and also some signs of material deterioration in some parts of the building. So the proposed work is to paint the building, which will help preserve and protect the structure from weathering, and it will make the aesthetic of the building look cleaner and brighter. Here are the proposed colors. Repose gray for brick and siding walls. We're still undecided with this, whether ceiling bright white or gauntlet gray for trims and columns, and this is where the chief would like the input of the board to see which, looks better. And of course, Terra Brown for bay doors. The inspiration for these colors come from the new Fire Station 42, which uses the exact same paint color. So what you see here is reposed gray for this siding or the board and batten. And for trim work, they opted for a bright white color. You can't see the gauntlet gray here, but they use it, the post, the bottom of the post, this gray, and then I think in the back section of the building, there's some gauntlet gray colors for their, for the columns. So with that, staff recommends approval of the proposed exterior paint colors because these colors are permitted per the code. Any question or discussion?
Can you go back a couple slides?
Yes.
Right there,
Okay.
right there. Okay. Any questions for staff?
Are they planning on painting the doors?
These are, pleasant neutral colors. And I think the chief
bay doors,
opts
sorry.
for a contrasting color for the trim work that will be more visually appealing as opposed to the monotone painting scheme.
They're just painting, right? They're not doing anything else.
They're
right?
not doing anything. yeah.
Okay.
Any questions?
I would do the white for the trims and columns.
I would as
personally.
well.
Yeah.
Personally,
So let's do this. We need to open for public comment?
We have none.
None. Okay, so we'll close public comment.
Close it. Yep.
And then let's, as a board, discussion, and then,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I would say, me personally, instead of doing the bay doors, the Terra Brown,
Yeah.
I would do those, the gauntlet
Yes.
gray.
Yeah, that's
100%.
my
I would
suggestion,
too.
Yeah.
And then
Agree,
the brick,
100%.
I would paint the repose gray, and you could probably get away with, same with the siding on the second floor above there as well, and then just do your trim accents and the ceiling
White.
bright white.
yes,
Yeah.
agreed. I was going to say that too. No Terra
Ceiling
Brown.
bright white should be used as more of just a,
Pop of color.
like a
Trim.
trim accent, but not an aggressive amount of it. And by using the repose gray, it's a very neutral color for the brick and the rest of the siding, which is very similar to what the siding already is. And the ceiling white, or the white, is almost similar to what existing is. You're just now going to take that brick and match it.
Okay.
But then those garage door, the
Yeah.
bay doors should be the gauntlet gray,
Yes.
as well as maybe around the windows if they're wood. And then the front door, I don't know if I would introduce the Terra Brown.
Okay.
No.
So all trim
like
work, including the bay doors, will be gauntlet gray, which is the
Just remove the
darker-
Terra Brown to
Yes,
completely
remove
instead of
Terra
the Terra
Brown.
Brown.
And
Okay.
then,
3 colors.
yeah, so just use the repose gray, the bright white, and the gauntlet gray. So for gauntlet gray, this is my opinion, you guys chime in, is I would do the bay doors, the front door entry, and then maybe the windows, the window mullions and
Yeah.
dividers, and the windows themselves. The siding and the brick would be the repose gray, and then all the trim accents, the columns, the trim fascia boards and frieze, which is what they have now, would be
Yeah.
that bright white.
I agree with that.
That's going to make it blend. You're not introducing too many colors. The Terra Brown is just not
Doesn't seem
necessary.
like it goes with.
No.
Okay.
What about the roof at Lina doing anything? Probably just going to stay, right?
So,
That doesn't, this doesn't
unfortunately,
need
I think on the
painted.
roof, unless they replace it, I wouldn't recommend painting
No,
it.
yeah. So I was like, just stay the same, right?
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. would
I agree with that totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't like
I
that.
would
I don't like that brown.
No.
Because it's on this one, you can
The
see it's
the
like a
brown, if there
raisin.
was more like natural cedar accents like the Fire Station 42,
Yeah.
then that's where that Terra Brown would come in. I'm
Because they
assuming
have-
that's where it was
okay.
pulled
They have
from.
like beams that match it. That's why it kind
That's
of works.
correct, yes.
Yeah. So on this, there's no beams.
Correct. Okay.
All right.
agree with
And
that.
then just a motion.
So
Motion.
can we get a motion?
Make a motion to accept the proposed colors, the repose gray, for the brick and the siding of the station, and use you took my colors away.
Bright white.
the bright
Gauntlet
white for
gray.
the trim, and then the gauntlet gray for the doors and the window frames and all.
And I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Fire Station 42 looks amazing. By
Oh
the
my
way.
gosh, it does.
I do have a question though for staff. 66 acres.
Yeah.
Yes, part of it is the Birmingham.
It's the park, the Birmingham Park behind there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Part of it.
So it's in conjunction with the
In
fire
conjunction,
station.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And you can ride horses back there. People
Is
ride.
that right?
Mhm. They can trail your horse and ride it back there. It's pretty
Okay.
cool.
All right, moving on. Final review, 7B, Home Trust Bank, 2905 Bethany Bend. Jackie, if you will give us some information on this one, please.
All right, this is also a pretty straightforward application or request. The location is 2905 Bethany Bend. Size of the lot is 1.07 acres. It's zoned T5 within the Deerfield Form-Based Code. Existing use is commercial bank. The building was built in 2006, and the applicant requests for review of paint colors for exterior beams, columns, and bollards of an existing bank. So here's the aerial view of the site, and it's within the intersection of Highway 9 and Bethany Bend. Here are the photos of existing building, the north and northeast elevation. As you notice, you will see that, and I'm not sure if the picture is a little bit dark, but you'll see the maroon color on some of this trim work, or they actually identify that as beams. Here's the south elevation where the ATM machine is located. West and east elevation, which is for the rear portion of the bank building. So the existing color of the exterior beams, columns, and bollards is maroon. And however, the bank's branding and color is more of a three different shades of blue, actually, as shown on this page. So the maroon doesn't really complement with the bank's brand. That's why they're coming to request that to repaint that areas of the building. So the color is pretty straightforward. You just look at our code. This is the color that we like, Pantone 432C. And all
Looks
those
so
sections
clean.
with the maroon will be replaced with this color. It's probably
Oh, it
the
is.
color, the painted, when you print the
Oh,
staff
yeah, 'cause it looks
report
very
versus
green.
this.
I was like, this doesn't look gray.
But it's that dark gray color.
Interesting. Well, anything's better than maroon.
Okay.
And this color is permitted per the Deerfield Form-Based Code. And therefore, staff recommends approval of the proposed exterior paint colors with one additional comment that they also paint the trims of the existing dumpster to match that proposed color. Question for staff?
No? Okay. Can we please have the applicant come forward? Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
Make it for personal reasons, my name is Eddie. I'm the painting contractor.
Okay. Anything to add, or?
Well, I brought up color placards, so it's a little bit better in life. You can
Okay.
see it as opposed to on a
Yeah.
screen.
Thank you.
Okay.
And it is just those maroon details on the structure. The Home Trust bought Quantum Bank. They're out of North Carolina. And there's one other branch in Swanee. We recently did this exact same thing to the Swanee branch. the maroon, all the maroon details on this Milton bank, they're tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no more maroon.
The job also includes, repairing some of the panels, tightening everything up, caulking it, making it tight. The rest of the building's stucco and is in good shape.
Okay.
So Nancy asked me to come down here to talk to you guys about it.
I do have a
lucked
question for
out.
you about the bollards in the drive-through and then at the dumpster area. Are those, I assume, are also going to be painted because
Yes.
they're that maroon?
Those bollards around those poles there at the drive-through.
Anything that's maroon, right? It's just.
Yes.
Should be
Yeah.
painted.
Yeah.
Anything that's maroon right now.
But the brick and the stone and the block and all that's going to remain as is,
Remain
correct?
as is.
So even I guess there was some red brick accents. Those are just going to stay the red brick accents.
I
of the
don't see
building.
any red brick accents.
Around the back?
Yeah, the east elevation.
Oh, that row lock on top, yeah,
Yeah.
that stays the same.
That'll stay. Okay. Are
Just those panels above those doors.
you planning on pressure washing the block?
We do, we pressure wash everything,
Okay.
painting.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Nope.
I would have had a question for the applicant if the applicant were the person who would be able to answer the question. I went there just to take a look at the general area because if we're looking at aesthetics, you're trying to make this place look a lot better.
Mhm.
But I think there's some opportunities here in addition to the painting that are landscaping related. There are trees that are coming into the building. I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
that takes away
That
from
one
it.
up front.
Just the general cleanup of the area. I think pine straw and taking out dead trees. There's one of the lights. The tree is actually within the light, so isn't
Well, I
giving
have
as
the
much
branch
light at
manager
night.
here.
Oh, good. I could share with you.
With her, yeah. We do have a proposal to redo the whole parking lot, by the way.
Oh, and do you lease that building or is that?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, hon, you wouldn't.
I'm sure, I'm not sure about that.
That's
part.
okay.
But
That's
I know
okay.
the concerns that I'm Summer Jenkins, I'm the branch manager. I do know the concerns with the light has been addressed. Trimming back the trees a little bit. I think they're in the process of trying to get all that done.
Good, because it'll make it look, with the paint, it'll look so much better than with the maroon. So you'd hate to have the landscaping take away from it when
And I do
you're
have
working on
pictures
it.
of our sweaty branch that was already painted, the gray color. If you need
Okay.
to see them. I just have them on my phone. They say, okay.
That's fine. No problem.
Well, that's actually a good question. Is there a permit required for this, or is this just?
Or the painting?
Mhm.
Yes.
There is a permit
Yeah,
required.
it's exterior or remodeling.
Okay.
Thank you.
So to that point, Mary,
Take a
is
peek,
if
sure.
you wanted to, is we could say, because there is a permit required, that we could say we would like to see.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
plantings, or maybe
Oh, yeah, much better.
submit with the building permit for
Yeah.
the
That looks much better.
the work is to have some plantings and
Right,
some-
plantings,
trim the
and
trees and
trimming
stuff,
trees and that sort of thing, pine straw. There's
which I imagine they're
also,
probably going to
I
do.
would
Yeah.
think that they would as well. There's a picnic bench that's chained to the dumpster. And I would also recommend, it's where,
There's
it's,
also a snake out there with that picnic bench.
There's a snake out there,
Snake.
Jen?
It is about this long.
That's
oh my gosh.
Snake.
I would just also recommend that picnic bench kind of is in need of changing out. It's looking kind of bad. So if that's something that the employees sit at, it just like.
I think
might-
that was prior to Home Trust. This is all
Okay.
quantum stuff that's kind of still left
Got
around.
it,
We
got
don't
it.
really use it. I think the community uses it. They
Oh.
walk past and walking their dogs. They sit out there.
Mm.
Oh,
So-
okay. Okay. It just kind of takes away from the overall. That's my only
The
comment on that.
chain or the picnic table?
The snake.
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 And the snake, now that I know about the
Pet
snake.
snake.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for
Nope.
the applicant? Okay, I will open up public comment.
We have none.
We have none. I will close public comment. Okay. Discussion amongst the board?
Nope.
No.
I think, Mary, to your point is recommend approval, and then, if they can, submit just some photos of some plants or something like that, maybe just a couple renderings or something. It doesn't have to be, I don't think we need to get to
Not extensive, just
Yeah.
just a refresh, really.
just maybe proposed plantings or tree trimming and work
Yeah.
that's going to be done.
And also general cleanup.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then remove the chain from the bench. So I think,
And get rid of the snake.
so I think.
Keeps rats away.
Did you want to make a motion, Mary, on that one, or?
Sure.
Okay.
I would like to recommend approval of, we have final review B, Home Trust Bank, 2905 Bethany Bend. Approval of the proposed paint color for the exterior beams, columns, and bollards of the existing bank. And like to make a recommendation that they do a refresh of the landscaping, that they get rid of the chain on the picnic bench and the bench. That they also look at trimming trees that are getting into the building, and then look at the tree that's in the light for safety reasons for that.
Come.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Congrats. Okay, moving on to our final order of, or final review, 7C, Milton Towns, 12644, 12645, 12648, and 12649 Branyon Circle.
All right, just to give you a background, Milton Towns is comprised of 14 designer luxury townhomes situated in Crabapple. Each custom-built townhome offers a range of distinctive and open concept floor plans and high-quality features and finishes. The subject site is a .039 acre lot and zone T4 within the Crabapple Form-Based Code. The applicant requests certificate of endorsement for constructing the last 4 remaining townhome units, that's 6, 7, 8, and 9 in the Milton Townhome Complex, located at the addresses right above 12644, 12648, 12649, and 12645 respectively. On October 5th, 2021, the Design Review Board recommended the approval of building plans for townhome units 1 to 5 and units 10 to 14. Units 1 to 5 have been constructed completely, while units 10, 14 are still underway. So tonight, they're coming to seek approval of the remaining units to be constructed. Here's the aerial view of the site. Just right along Heritage Walk. You can access the site through Branyon Trail as well as Heritage Walk. Here are some adjacent properties that are in zone T4, just to give you perspective of what the architectural looks like. Here's the site plan, and highlighted in red are the location of the additional 4 units. Here's the existing condition. Just note that this image was taken in February of 2023. So, but the units 1 to 5 have already been completed. I have pictures to show you shortly. And here in the yellow bracket lines, you'll see where the proposed 4 townhome units will go. So here's the existing conditions of the finished building, the front and rear elevations. And also additional images of the existing conditions. So here's the proposed renderings of front elevation of the 4 units, and it's really similar to what was approved in 2021. Side elevation. The perspective of the side elevation to the east. Here's a list of all proposed exterior materials as well as colors. For materials, pretty much the facade is made of painted brick. We have hardy columns. The brackets are cedar. There's metal handrail. The windows are made of wood. For accents, they have this board and batten and smooth siding. And the roofing are asphalt shingles and some standing seam metal. For exterior colors, they do have a combination of black, alabaster, and some brown colors, which I'm going to show you shortly what they look like. Here's the proposed exterior lights. So for staff analysis, let's talk about descriptions for T4. The general characteristics of this is a mix of houses and townhouses with scattered commercial activity, balance between landscape and buildings, and the presence of pedestrians. As shown in some of the adjacent property images, you'll see that character. Frontage types, you have porches, fences, doorways, and the typical height is 1 to 3 story. So for building form, we look at it from a side elevation perspective. It's a 3-story building. The total height is approximately 30 feet. That excludes the garage and the attic space. So garage and attic space. The height of each floor level story is 10 feet from finished floor level to finished ceiling. As far as architectural standards, we look at the architectural styles, and it meets 1 or more prescribed styles in the code. The materials, there's 3 different types of materials. Predominantly, it's brick with some siding and board and batten. The roof is asphalt shingle. There's also true divided light windows. Hardwood door, garage door is made of steel with composite trim. Brick chimneys on each end of the building. The columns are wrapped with hardy, and it's painted to look like wood. And of course, some nice touch of aluminum railings in the 2nd and 3rd level of the townhome. And continuation for exterior colors. So they have 3 different types for the exterior facade. You have the alabaster, black magic, brainstorm bronze. The shingles is black, and blue shadow for the cedar and decks. As for the lighting standards, they're using the same lighting similar to what in units 1 to 5. There's 3 types of lights, and all of these light fixtures are acceptable. With that, staff recommends approval of the proposed building and architectural plan of townhome units 6, 7, 8, and 9 as proposed with no further comments. The architectural elements match the building styles, and overall the plan conforms with our crabapple form-based code. Any question for staff?
I have a
before we call the
question.
applicant? Okay.
So from what I can tell, the only thing that really has changed on this is those 2 center units. We're just making those upper balconies a little bit wider, which I imagine that most people would want to have a little bit more of a balcony. Is that correct?
That's probably a question for the applicant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then if we could have the applicant come on up. Good evening. Thank you for being so patient tonight.
Good evening. Thank you, guys. Drew Clow, 2423 Wilwana Drive, Brookhaven, Georgia. Thank you guys for reviewing our proposal for this last building. To answer Mr. Warlick's question, We did modify, we had two different sizes of covered roof terraces, a slightly smaller one and a bigger one. And on this final building, they're all the large size. And so those middle two units, 7 and 8, that have the flat roof, that's a wider version of that flat roof elevation than what we built in the other buildings. The elevations on the end units are the same as other units that we had built previously. All the colors, materials, et cetera, are all the same that we did throughout the rest of the community. There are slight differences to the side elevations, which was just based on the available size of the lots. On the first building, Unit 1 was able to have, where you see that bump out on the east elevation, if you went back to the first building, there was a more pronounced bump out that was just a wider area than what, correct, that one. So on the first building, that little bumped out area with the metal roof was about 6 feet wider. It included a bumped out breakfast room off the kitchen as well as this, but the lot sizes didn't allow for quite as much of an extrusion on the side elevation. Otherwise, everything else is consistent with what we've done previously. It's been a great project and appreciate Milton staff working with us on it.
Okay.
I do have one question about on the existing units, they've got the AC units in the back. And on the renderings for these new units, it's not showing the AC units, but I assume that they're still they're gonna be there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then this is probably for staff. Was a landscape and lighting plan for the community approved all at one time back when this was originally done?
I believe so. Before they started building this, the LDP has to go to DRB for review.
Okay, I thought that probably they
Yeah,
had the
they finished all
landscaping
of that
plan
all
for
at
everything
once,
all
yeah.
at once. I just wanted to make sure because we don't have one right now.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant?
No, I know what it looks like.
Okay. Okay, I'll open up for public comment. Or
We
did
have
you have
none.
anything else to add?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Public comment?
We have none.
We have none. Okay, all right. I will close public comment. Board discussion?
Nope.
No,
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty straightforward.
these things look beautiful, right? I think it's just a slight change. I'm assuming that's based on the desire of people looking at these and wanting a little bit larger balcony, I would. So just seeing as there's no architectural really large change and all the colors and everything are the same, and I've got no problem with that. Good.
Yep.
So then I will make a motion to approve the Milton Towns 12644, 12645, 12648, and 12649 Branyon Circle. Approve the review or the building plan as proposed.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congrats. Thank you. It's a good looking project. All right. So then that will conclude all of our reviews and approvals tonight. We'll move on to new business, presentation of the UDC code.
Oh, here it is. Oh,
Okay. Somewhere in the million different PowerPoints we have here. So anyway, tonight, again, this is another item that's not necessarily required per the zoning ordinance and your purview, but at the same time, the UDC in general is an important tool for you all in your processing and review of different plans and final building plans and design. So again, there is no way that I can go into all of the nooks and crannies of this, but I just want to give you all an overview of what this document is like and what hopefully by February we'll have it finalized and ready to go after quite a bit of many years that we began in 2017. So let's see. Again, it said right there, started in 2017. At that time, we had our consultant TSW held stakeholder interviews. They reviewed different city plans, did a technical review of all the codes, review of variance histories and typical zoning conditions that had occurred over the previous 11 plus years of the city. So just as examples, at that point in time, there had been 6 variances of fences, 9 variances of stream buffers, 17 variances of yard setbacks, 3 variances of signs. Just kind of getting a overall look at what had happened.
That's since 2017?
Well, no.
Is that
it was
including-
before, from 2007 to, so it was about 10-year span.
Okay,
So
from
they
7
were
to
looking
17.
historically, that was done in 2017, what had happened in the previous 10 years.
Got it, okay.
of,
Because I was about to say, I'm pretty sure we've seen more than that in this year.
Yeah, no. Quite a few, I don't think you all see very many stream buffers much anymore, but
There's been a couple.
there's been a few, okay. But continuing the background, there was a diagnostic report summarizing technical findings and provide a roadmap for creating the UDC, identifying potential technical and policy changes, but only recommends policy changes in the draft UDC. That's not correct. We don't really have the intent was not to have policy changes. It was really doing the mechanics of bringing in various codes, and we'll talk about that in a minute. This was just a snapshot of the diagnostic report that TSW did, just looking at different issues between the zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance, et cetera. So the city council approved the strategy in August of 2017. There was a first draft of 0 in February of 18. Draft version 1, 95% of the draft in 2019. And then in 19, it was put on hold. Just some background about what is the Unified Development Code. It's a zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance, various development regulations such as Chapter 20, which is environment, Chapter 50, which is subdivision regulations, Chapter 48 of the city code, which is streets and sidewalks. So that's more on the public works side. So they were all kind of unified together to create this Unified Development Code. Why would we want a UDC? Consistency, public policy, procedures, permits, definitions. So right now, if you look at all of those different, the zoning ordinance, even within the zoning ordinance, now that we've adopted form-based code, we have a set of definitions in Articles 19 and 20, which are form-based code articles. We have the general definitions in the beginning of zoning. If you go to subdivision regulations, they have a set of definitions. So what this UDC has done is basically created, condensed everything. All the definitions are together in one section, so you don't have to look all over the place. And that's just an example of that. The one-stop shop, cross-referenced. And once it's, what happens is when it's adopted in February, what happens is we send it to MuniCode and what's called codify it. And that's where there will be clickable ability to go from one area, let's say if it references one part of the ordinance to another, then you could click on it and it goes to it. That already happens in MuniCode, but just to know that that is going to continue on. And I anticipate it will take a very long time for Municode to codify it. It's a very large document. So until that time, we'll have it available on our website and have it electronically, but it won't be as interactive until it gets codified.
From my experience from other municipalities is
Yeah.
an ongoing thing. So
Yes. So this is why we'd want to do this opportunity to change intended audience, less focus on lawyers and more focus on daily users. So as Caleb went through the ordinance, he kind of made it more friendly to your typical audience. I don't want to say dumb it down, but basically make
Cliff
it
notes.
more user-friendly. So the Unified Development Code was one of the short-term work projects that were in the 2040 Comprehensive Plan. It was STWP LU 12. So that is definitely one of the items that is a goal to finish, and we're almost there. Again, here is just an overall process, more since we began, well, I guess it's from the beginning, we got a little condensed time in the green area. So it's taken, 2.5 or more than that, almost not including the time that it was put on hold. It's taken about 2.5 years of actual work. So about, I don't know, a year and a half ago, a little more than a year and a half ago, we started looking at a version staff did, as well as Planning Commission. And we, I think there's 13 chapters to it, and we assigned different people different chapters, and they looked at it, and then we reviewed it at Planning Commission meetings. Kind of shared the burden or the labor of looking at it, came up with another updated version. And then at that point in time, the Planning Commission recommended that they go page by page, line by line of every single part of the UDC. So we started over again, and that took a little over a year of reviewing it at our meetings. We added a couple other work sessions during that time. And during that time, we had a Conveo, which was a software system that allowed for the public to be able to review it and make comments on it as well. So we finished that process of reviewing it page by page, line by line. Also, our city attorney, Paul Fricke, has been involved with it throughout the process as well. And reviewing, and it's made his job easier because he was at pretty much every meeting. And so, we feel comfortable with the legal review as well. So now we're in the adoption cycle. We had our community zoning information meeting last week. I can't remember. There were a couple people who were interested, but I think they were here for the other items, and they just had some questions about it. Tonight, we have brought it to you all for the DRB, and then the Planning Commission on the 20th. And then the first presentation will be the final version after any comments from the Planning Commission. There's a couple things that we've discovered that we need to tweak. It'll be encompassed in the next version, like the inconsistency that we're working on right now between the DRB residency regulations rules between Chapter 2, which is administration, and the city code. And then we will, whatever is decided on the 18th by the council, will reflect it and make it consistent in this last version. So there's a couple things like that may happen, but we'll make sure that the Planning Commission is aware of that. Well, yes, that decision will be made before the Planning Commission. But ultimately, when it goes to City Council in the first read, everything should be ready to go, and then a final decision on February 5th of next year. And let's see. So this is just some examples of the pages in 2 columns, language and format, usability, like I mentioned, consistent terms of definitions, clarified language. Let's see, we also improved on graphics. Some of the graphics were unclear or just over time not having great readability, as well as adding new graphics. So we have tables. So that was something that was missing from the zoning ordinance. Many municipalities have like a master table where if somebody comes into the community, they can look to see, well, I want to do, a 1/4 acre subdivision. What do I need to do that? I need to go through a rezoning process. I need to do a LDP, or so we have these tables. So here, this slide shows summary of review authority. So a UDC text amendment, the cross references, it's in section 12.3. So if you want to read about it in the code, that's there. Community development director is a recommendation, and planning commission is a recommendation, and then city council makes the final decision. So if somebody wants to do a certain action, they're able to look at this table and see what the process is. We never had that before. So this is going to make it really nice for the public and our developers and engineers.
So then I have to set up a meeting with you and sit down and go through everything?
Yeah. So this is a overall table of contents, the general provisions, which is just an introductory, and then the zoning, what was the zoning ordinance is Articles 2 through 8. And then Article 9 is site development from Chapter 50, which is subdivisions, as well as some sections from the zoning ordinance, streets and public improvements, mainly from Chapter 48, which was exactly that, streets and sidewalks, and then 50, which is the subdivision regulations. Then finally, also Article 11 is environment, from 20, which is environment, and 60, which is subdivision. So it was about 2 years ago, we did a major update to Chapter 20 of environment that was required by the state to do the state model ordinance for stream buffers and all different kind of environmental issues. So that was nice because it was already done, and then we just took it word by word and put it into Article 11. Article 12 is administration and definitions. So again, that's the technical part of the processes that mainly came from the zoning ordinance. This is just some sheets from AG1 agricultural. Again, I want to reiterate, there was no major policy changes to this document. There's been other jurisdictions who tried to do both policy and restructuring of their zoning, and sometimes that gets a little muddy. So that's why over the last 5 years, we continue to do text amendments, is because we want it to go through the process for the public to hear, as well as for the planning commission and ultimately the city council to make policy decisions about the zoning, mainly the zoning. And so that's why even during this laborious process, we keep on doing text amendments, which I'm sure makes Caleb go crazy because it's always changing something about this big document, but he's had a great attitude about it. So I just want to reiterate, there's no surprises. If you want to go and tomorrow build a house, there's nothing that's going to be anything majorly different at all about how to do that, or how, for instance, the people coming in for a rezoning, there's been no policy changes to what's being attempted to do. We have a use chart. Again, very kind of similar to the previous chart. You can look up a use and see where it's allowed. We did split it. It would have been too huge. Caleb split it between traditional zoning districts and then the form-based code districts. So there are two sets of tables because it just was going to become too difficult to read and deal with. And so you can see as this example, the bed and breakfast, you need a use permit under AG1. It's allowed with a use permit, I believe it's R5A, and I can't read it, whatever it says, R6. And then there's the citation of the ordinance of the regulations, and then you click on it, and then it goes over to the actual development regulations for that use. Again, this is the form-based codes. I referenced all the different uses are in a table. I will say that Caleb has kind of tweaked especially the form-based code to not really changing uses, but reorganizing them, as well as maybe making it more defined certain uses, adding more uses to be more descriptive about what the use may be, or even go backwards and instead of say, call out elementary school, middle school, high school, he just calls them public schools. So that's the kind of thing, massaging that was done with especially the form-based code. Hopefully we'll make it more clear when people come to us to ask to do certain uses. The sign ordinance was also obviously part of the UDC, did some updates on some graphics on that as well. And that's in general a summation of a very long process, and hopefully we can have a good document at the end. And with that, if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from them.
About time.
I know. You're like, yes, I know.
No, that's, I'm familiar with those on quite a bit of different municipalities, and it's definitely easier to navigate for sure.
Right. And it'll be a learning curve for everybody. I mean, for me, I'm familiar somewhat, but I'm used to 17 years of just, and I still have to look it up in our traditional zoning and subdivision regs and whatever. So it'll definitely be a learning curve, but hopefully, especially for newcomers, it'll be easier. It'll be a good tool for them to be able to.
And when we have a question for you during the middle of a meeting, you can just click on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Hopefully. So. Yeah. Okay. Well, I just wanted to give you that. You don't have to vote. I just wanted to give you a heads up what's coming down the line and all that. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of hard work.
Yeah, the Planning Commission has been very committed. So
yeah,
Mary's our most committed commenter, I have to say. So it's been awesome to be able to have that input. So thank you.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. Any more new business?
I just wanted to make one quick little comment. First of all, I wanted to, because I will not be on the board anymore after this. My person is no longer going to be on council. So I wanted to thank everybody for your patience with me jumping in the middle and not really knowing a whole lot what I was doing. And I want to thank Jackie especially for all the help answering questions. You are a saint. So what I wanted to also say, and I know I jumped in the middle, but I think that there's an opportunity maybe for some additional training that I think that would be beneficial. And these are the kinds of things that I think might be helpful for somebody, whether it's starting off in January or jumping in and being able to get a packet with some information to know what you need to do. But probably guidance on the types of recommendations that can be made when there's a rezoning, a variance, and a use permit, because there are we need to stay within certain borders. And it would be really good to have that information. So we're not asking a lot of questions of Jackie, and we can go into it confident, or you guys can. How to utilize tools like MuniCode and UDC to ensure that the Milton standards are maintained with their buildings and landscaping. I mean, there's so much specific information in there, like being able to utilize that well to help with these reviews. I think that could be augmented a little. And then provide information on the types of conditions that can be added when you have a demo. because we went through that process. The guy's been, almost a year, with something that basically is turning out to be an unsafe structure and buildings. And so maybe being able to put a little bit more, hold somebody more to it with conditions. And then the last thing that I would also recommend would be to include the ethics training that the city manager and the city attorney had mentioned back in July, to add that into the standard training as well. And those are just kind of main things. I don't know what's in the training, but I just wanted to add some of these things, if they're not included, I think it would be really helpful. And I just wanted to thank you guys for a fun 5 months.
All right, thank you for your comments. I've listed all of them. Yeah.
Thanks, Jackie.
Yeah, I'll second that. Mary, thank you in fact, I think you jumped in very well. I mean, I will say that when I first started, we have progressed quite a bit. I think the staff reports is very helpful.
Yeah.
So you guys have done a great job at that. And I do think that it's a continuous training, education, and knowledge. But I do think we're on the right track. And, Mary, I appreciate all your time here and your comments as well. So thank you for your time. So, okay. Anything else? No? All right, no more new business. 9A, old business?
There's none.
There's none, okay. Then seeing none,
Make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season.
Holiday, yes, correct, yes, absolutely.